Cam Newton comes off a tremendous debut as the Panthers lost to the Cardinals by 7 points. He threw for more than 400 yards, threw for 2 touchdowns, ran for 1. Just a great debut for a guy who has a lot of pressure on him, and now he's really going to see some pressure in his next game. The Cardinals don't have anywhere near the defense that the Packers do, and when Green Bay comes into Charlotte for the first home game that Cam Newton will play for the Panthers, you can expect that they will pressure him. They will show him some defenses he hasn't seen before. The Packers come off their own dynamic debut for the season. They beat the Saints in a very high-scoring game. Aaron Rodgers was on point just like he was last year in the playoffs. I think we can look for a lot more of that in this Sunday game in Charlotte. The Bears get their second taste of the NFC South. This time it's with a little flavoring of Cajun when they go down to New Orleans, and they play against a team that did pretty well offensively against Green Bay in the opening game of the season, but didn't play nearly as well on defense. I think the Saints are better on defense than they showed against the Packers, and we know that the Bears don't have an offense anything like what Green Bay does. Also, the Saints don't want to start off 0-2. They're supposedly one of the powerful teams in the conference, and they certainly would like to get home field advantage throughout the playoffs like they did 2 years ago when they won the Super Bowl. Now, the Bears, that's a really strange story in that most people expected when they played the Falcons last week in Chicago that the Bears would be the team that would struggle. Instead, they just broke out of the gate very quickly on offense, on defense, and on special teams. One thing to note for this game is Brian Urlacher, who comes off a terrific opener in which he was the Defensive Player of the Week. His mom died this week, and his mindset will be somewhat strained, I would imagine, as he goes into this game. The Falcons have a very tough test this week. Not only must they win to go 1-1 in a division that's going to be very tough all season, they also are going up against Michael Vick. And when Vick comes back to Atlanta now as a starter, the dynamic is a lot different than the last time he was there when he was the third-string quarterback for the Eagles back in 2009. This time, Vick is probably the most important offensive player on a team that has a lot of really good offensive players. The Eagles also are the team that kind of won free agency. They made the biggest splash in free agency. Then last week they played quite well at St. Louis. Not that well early, but then really came on to dominate the Rams. Now they go into the Georgia Dome. It'll be very interesting to see how the fans react to Vick, and it will also be interesting to see how Vick reacts to kind of a pressure cooker situation going against his old team in his old city and knowing that the Falcons are desperate to get a win this early in the season.